our company's main issue that we want to kind of talk to filmmakers about is knowing what they want from the circuit, if their film is suitable to go onto the circuit. Sometimes filmmakers are making content to go straight online, so that doesn't mean that it's not warranted that you can put it onto the festival as well. But as we talked about in a few of the questions yesterday, some filmmakers prefer to put their stuff straight online. Don't worry about the festival circuit, put it straight online. I think for us, the important thing is knowing what you want, and also knowing that you have the budget to make it happen. It takes time to submit to the festival circuit, and also it costs money to submit.
And it could be any other reason. The reason that we have this conversation with our clients is because it helps us put together their strategy for their film, but also it gauges the expectations of the filmmaker once they put their film onto the circuit.
What we're finding now is that a lot of filmmakers are doing everything themselves. So they're writing it, they're directing it, they're self-producing. But then it means that they don't have any distance, that when it comes to putting it onto the circuit, if they want to go onto the festivals, that they're a bit too close to it. And that's when people forget deadlines, forget festivals that are really obvious that they should submit the film to. So it's kind of handy to have an outside eye to kind of have that distance from it and not be able to be so close and too emotionally attached.
We get a lot of people come to us where it's just not finished. It hasn't got a grade, the sound is a bit shoddy, and also it has no credits on it. What's the point of making a film if you're not going to tell people who was involved? We would say that we can send work as a work in progress to festivals, but the least it has to be is picture locked. The reason for that, and it's very obvious, but people tend to forget this, is that as a programmer, you have a limited amount of time that you need to show films in. So if you submit work in progress and your film is 10 minutes, and the programmer is, great, I like it, we're going to schedule it in when the film's finished, send it to us. If you then send them a 20-minute film, you're going to completely screw with their programming, and they're not going to be very happy. But what we would suggest is sending out your film as best as possibly finished as you can.
We always make our clients aware, if you're going to submit a film to a festival, you need to be able to provide everything that the festival needs. I think it's more a case of if somebody submits their film and then they get the rejection, that's when they kick back and they kind of go straight to the festival and kind of go, why did you reject my film?
Length is very important in the film world. The reason we talk about length at great length, at Festival Formula, is there still seems to be this kind of stigma that a festival film is a particular length, which is not correct. We've had short films that are 15 seconds, we've had short films that are 42 minutes, and they've all received screenings in their own individual right. What I would say is make sure that your film is the length the narrative needs to be. We get a lot of people coming to us with a 15-minute short, and somebody has whispered in their ear, oh, it'd be great if it was 10 minutes, it will play lots of festivals. So they start trying to hack away their film. And it might look really pretty, but there's no narrative whatsoever. And a programmer's always going to go for narrative, not because it was shot on a nice camera.
The programmers that we've spoken to, that we've interviewed, they have a very tough job because they have to try, their main goal is to represent as many filmmakers as they can. And they only have, say, a 90-minute program to do that. So of course, if they're getting an insane amount of films submitted to them, they have to kind of look through them, sift them, make sure that they're kind of doing a nice kind of broad range of filmmakers, which is why time is a slight issue if you've got a longer film, say over 30 minutes, depending what kind of medium it is. Like documentary, it's different because we have longer documentaries or feature, but the longer documentaries tend to be like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
And this is a really simple task that we do for every single client individually, but it's something as a filmmaker, when you're putting together your own strategy, is something to remember. So collating the issues within your film, both in front of the camera and behind. If you're a female filmmaker, black filmmaker, Asian filmmaker, there are specific festivals that focus in on those. but also there are specific categories. But making sure that you're knowing the thing that you want to, and when I say exploit in a good way, kind of draw around, expand upon.
Whenever a festival puts their submission call out, it will say, it will have requirements that you need to fulfill. So it needs to be made with a production date in mind. So some festivals will stipulate, we only want films after the 1st of December 2013, which means if your film was made beforehand, there's no point submitting it. Some of them specify time, so no more than 20 minutes or no more than 40 minutes. And others will specify a particular theme in mind, which kind of gets the filmmaker to think, is my film really suitable for this festival? Whereas other festivals, they don't necessarily have a theme in mind, it's more they're just opening it up to short films. And then they'll select and then programme as they go on. So they're kind of, if you look at, just trying to think. So if you look at some festivals, they have strands that deal with different issues, which has maybe sometimes come out from when they're actually programming the films.
The first thing that I always stress to people is that networking shouldn't really be called networking, because it makes it horribly industry and kind of cold approach like. Call it talking with a drink in your hand, because that's what it is. And also don't talk about work, because you'll get round to it. If you kind of click with someone, you'll end up going, oh, so do you have a film here in the festival, or you're a programmer? And then that's when you talk about it. Because the thing is, networking is great for you, but I think the reason why it leaves people cold is because it always feels like a hard sell. You always feel like you're having to go in there all singing, all dancing, kind of like throwing out business cards like ninjas. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be more like, I'm a person behind here. And, I've got clients who are ridiculously shy, but then I've got clients who are particularly open, and they do kind of fumble their way through. Like the kind of people that are really outgoing do find it hard just as much as people who are shy. I think in terms of what you can do is go to film festivals. I think the experience as a filmmaker of seeing your film in front of an audience you don't know is both terrifying but exhilarating at the same time, because that's why you do it. The idea is, the aspirations, you make a film because you want it to be seen by an audience.
I think if you don't have the exhibition copy, you can maybe reach out to the festival and say, do you have any spare funds? Because some festivals will do that. If they desperately want to show your film, they'll make sure that they're in a position to help you. Or you can look to your own funding within your own country. Because I know that in the UK we have British Film Council, which can help with elements like that, and it might be able that you could look somewhere there and it will help you, because it's in their benefit. You're a national filmmaker from their country and you're going across the water or wherever, so it kind of goes in their favour.